Greetings, ATA community. My name is John Lang, and I'm the creator of Audit the Audit. I'll be narrating today's episode for old time's sake, but before we get into that, I want to extend my personal invitation to check out my second channel. There, we will be taking a more casual look at police encounters and all the news and stories surrounding them. So if you like ATA, you're going to love the content on my second channel. There's a brand new episode out on my second channel right now, so as soon as you're done with this episode, head on over to that channel, give it a sub, and check out the new content. I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you, and I look forward to bringing you more police interaction content. But without further ado, let's dive right in and audit the audit. Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers the right to record, public meetings, and fighting words, and is brought to us by Jessica Luther Rummel's channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. On August 19th, 2021, activist Jessica Luther Rummel attempted to film a meeting of the Denton County Republican Party Executive Committee meeting that was being held in a conference room at the Denton County Elections Administration Building in Denton, Texas. After being told the committee decided to move into an executive session, Ms. Rummel was asked to leave the room, and she continued to film in the lobby once she did so.
I'm sorry, we're in executive session?
Oh, but the congressman's speaking.
But we're still in executive session.
Oh, watch her. Can I have a copy of the agenda to see when the executive session ends?
Okay. Let me see if I can get it for you.
Thank you. So I'm looking at the agenda here. So there's nothing here about a special executive session. You know what? I'm going to make them arrest me if that's what they want. It doesn't say anything about a closed session on the agenda.
Okay. When she announced it?
Sir, please don't put your face in my face.
Oh, okay. When she announced what we're doing, it's like she's the chairman. She can make that decision.
This is a public meeting. I'm glad to talk to the sheriff if you want him to come talk to me.
Oh, sure. I'll tell you what, yeah. Step up here.
Sure.
Somebody will be with you in just a second.
I'll tell you what, I'll go inside, and the sheriff can make me leave if he wants to, sir.
Stop.
The sheriff can make me leave.
That's enough.
Sheriff Murphy, come tell me why I'm not allowed to be in this room. I have a right to be in that room. It's not a closed session.
They have made it a closed session.
They cannot do that, sir. No, they cannot. Under what rule?
Under their rules,
Sir, it's a public event.
they have gone into an executive session.
Really? Then why are there other people in there with guest tags on? Why was I the only one made to leave?
Don't know the answer to that.
Sir, because they're lying. It was just a ploy to make me leave. This is not a private room. No, sir. They didn't rent this. I already pulled the records. Tell me, am I under the threat of arrest if I go in that room?
These people have asked you not to go in there.
Sir, they don't have a right to do that. It's a public meeting.
Ms. Rummel argues that she has the right to be present and record because the committee meeting was a public event. As mentioned many times on ATA, the Supreme Court has not decided any case that definitively establishes a right to film in public or at a public meeting. But judges generally accept that expressive conduct and communicative photography are protected by the First Amendment. As the Supreme Court summarized in the 1989 case of Texas versus Johnson, quote, in deciding whether a particular conduct possesses sufficient communicative elements to bring the First Amendment into play, we have asked whether an intent to convey a particularized message was present, and whether the likelihood was great that the message would be understood by those who viewed it. Additionally, while the First Amendment does not directly establish a right for citizens to be present at a public meeting, the Supreme Court determined in the 1976 case of Madison School District versus Wisconsin Employment Relations Commission that when the government opens a forum for direct citizen involvement, excluding certain people or categories of people from participation violates the First Amendment. The court held that, quote, to permit one side of a debatable public question to have a monopoly in expressing its views to the government is the antithesis of constitutional guarantees. Whatever its duties as an employer, when the board sits in public meetings to conduct public business and hear the views of citizens, it may not be required to discriminate between speakers speakers on the basis of their employment or the content of their speech. Although there is not a constitutional right for citizens to be present at public meetings, all 50 states have enacted open meeting laws, also known as sunshine laws, that guarantee a citizen's right to be present at most public government meetings, while creating exceptions that allow for closed meetings or executive sessions under special circumstances. Texas's open meeting laws explicitly allow individuals in attendance to record, stating in section 551.023 of the Texas Government Code that, quote, "A person in attendance may record all or any part of an open meeting of a government body by means of a recorder, video camera, or other oral or visual reproduction." While the governmental body is permitted to adopt reasonable restrictions on the location of recording equipment and the manner in which recording is conducted, these rules cannot prevent or unreasonably impair an individual from exercising their right to record the meeting.
They have made it a private meeting now.
Because I'm here, that is not allowed.
They can go to executive session.
They're not in executive session. It doesn't even exist. It's not a thing. It says public meeting. You told me earlier you're all about the Constitution.
That's right.
What about my constitutional rights right now?
They've gone to executive session.
No, they have not.
That's what they
Then
told
why
me.
are there other people in there with guest name tags on?
I don't know the answer to that.
They can't do an executive session for a public meeting.
Then sue them.
Ms. Rummel claims that the committee cannot go into an executive session for a public meeting, and that because the Denton County Republican Party did not pay to rent the conference room and the event was hosted by the city free of charge, they must obtain city approval before deciding to use the room privately. There are several issues with this argument, the first of which is that the county GOP is not required to hold the meeting open to the public because it is not a government body as defined by the Texas Sunshine Laws. While Section 551.002 of the Texas Government Code requires that, quote, "Every regular, special, or called meeting of a governmental body shall be open to the public, except as provided by this chapter." Section 551.001 includes a long list of governmental bodies, none of which include political parties. In fact, according to Section 527 of Title 26 of the United States Code, political organizations such as political parties that are organized and operated primarily for the purpose of directly or indirectly accepting contributions or making expenditures are private entities. While it is unclear whether the Denton County Republican Party is operating as a tax-exempt political organization, in any case, the party itself would not be considered a governmental body. Additionally, even if the Denton County Republican Party was a governmental body, the Texas open meeting laws allow governmental bodies to hold closed meetings in certain situations. Subchapter D of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code includes many statutes that identify reasons that a meeting can be closed, such as consultation with an attorney, deliberations regarding real estate and contract negotiations, and personal matters. In order to conduct a closed meeting, Section 555.101 of the Code requires the governmental body to first convene in an open meeting where the presiding officer publicly announces that a closed meeting will be held and identifies the exception to the open meeting rule that justifies holding a closed meeting. Finally, as we have reviewed many times on this channel, the fact that a meeting was held in a government facility does not automatically make the meeting a public forum for First Amendment purposes. Although the Denton County Building Use Policy does require that outside groups receive approval from the Commissioner's Court to use county-owned facilities, the Denton County Elections Administration Building is not included on the list of available facilities. However, though Ms. Rummel may be correct that the committee violated the county's requirements if they did not receive approval from the Commissioner's Court, the Sunshine Laws are applied based on the body holding the meeting, not the location where the meeting is held. As the Supreme Court stated in the 1981 case of U.S. Postal Service versus Greenberg Civic Association, quote, "The First Amendment does not guarantee access to property simply because it is owned or controlled by the government. Therefore, applying all of the legal standards to this situation, a court would likely conclude that Ms. Rummel did not have a right to attend or record the meeting."
Public meeting. I'm going in that room. Yes, I am. Yeah, I am. Excuse me, sir. I'd like to go. Don't put your hands on me. If you touch me again, dude, what's your name and badge number?
Sergeant Larry D.
Badge number.
2425.
Name and badge number.
Joshua Moisten, 2887.
Please get out of my way. This is a public building.
No, ma'am.
This is a public building. You don't get to just make up the law as you go along and decide that all of a sudden a public event is a private event.
They decided that, not me.
They can't do that.
Then sue 'em.
I don't want to sue them. I want to go in the room because it's my right to do it and document what's going on in that room. Look how mad you are. You're mad. You can hardly control yourself. Yeah, you killed your wife too.
Get out of here.
No, you can't make me. Don't you touch me. Get the off of me. I'm in a public space. No.
Then come leave.
Go.
Time to leave.
Go.
Let's go.
Go.
I'm in a public space. You told me I could be here. You can't make me leave just because you don't like what I say.
Go.
Here, Miss Rummel makes vulgar remarks regarding Sheriff Murphy's wife, who passed away in September of 2011 after falling off of a golf cart during a street party. When Sheriff Murphy announced that he would be running as the GOP nominee for the Denton County Sheriff back in 2015, rumors began circulating that Sheriff Murphy and his wife were drunk at the time of the incident. It is unclear where these rumors began, but then incumbent Sheriff Will Travis denied any involvement to the Dallas Morning News in an article from November of that year. Although Ms. Rummel's comments were offensive and insulting, a court would probably conclude that they were protected by her right to freedom of speech. While the Supreme Court has recognized an exception to the First Amendment for quote-unquote fighting words, because Ms. Rummel's remarks expressed specific ideas about Sheriff Murphy's behavior and character, they likely would not fall into this category. In the landmark 1942 case of Chaplinsky versus New Hampshire, the Supreme Court recognized a First Amendment exception for insulting or fighting words, which it defined as, quote, those by which their very utterance inflict injury or tend to incite an immediate breach of the peace. In establishing what constitutes fighting words, the court explained that, quote, it has been well observed that such utterances are no essential part of any exposition of ideas, and are of such slight social value as a step to truth, that any benefit that may be derived from them is clearly outweighed by the social interest in order and morality. Resort to epithets or personal abuse is not any proper sense communication of information or opinion safeguarded by the Constitution, and its punishment as a criminal act would raise no question under that instrument. Based on this and other precedents, in the 2008 case of Prutel versus Mason, the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals approved jury instructions that stated fighting words must, quote, play no role in the expression of ideas. In other words, while the fighting words doctrine may cover slurs, epithets, and name-calling, as the Supreme Court Justice White noted in his concurring opinion in the 1992 case of RAV versus City of St. Paul, quote, the mere fact that expressive activity causes hurt feelings, offense, or resentment does not render the expression unprotected. Accordingly, a court would likely conclude that although Ms. Rummel's verbal attacks on Sheriff Murphy could rise to the level of inciting violence, they were protected by the First Amendment because the comments communicated specific information and opinions.
You can't change the law just because you don't like what I say.
You're yelling, you're disturbing.
I'm not
yourself.
yelling.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
You didn't tell me to leave till I accused you of killing your wife. Let's talk about how Denton County deputies keep showing up at my house for supposed 911 calls and trespassing on my property. 2 times. 2 times. Just because you didn't log the first one doesn't mean it didn't happen. Let's also talk about how you used your power to deny me an open records request.
After Sheriff Murphy walked away, Miss Rummel remained outside the conference room until the meeting ended, and then interviewed various meeting participants, including Denton County Republican Party chairperson Jane Howell. In the description for the footage of her YouTube channel, Miss Rummel stated that she filed a police report on August 20th, 2021 for assault by unlawful contact and, quote, the sheriff's spittle in my face, and asked her viewers to contact the Denton County DA to request that they press charges against Sheriff Murphy. She also requested that her viewers take additional actions to spread the story and report the situation to the authorities. Overall, Sheriff Murphy gets an A- because although his tone was somewhat adversarial, he maintained a calm and collected demeanor, remained within the bounds of his authority throughout the encounter, and refused to allow Miss Rummel's personal insults to dictate the outcome of this interaction. Sheriff Murphy's ability to remain calm in the face of Miss Rummel's insults was remarkable for any person, much less a member of law enforcement, and I commend the sheriff for placing his professional duty before his emotional response. There was a moment where Sheriff Sheriff Murphy considered forcing Miss Rummel to leave the property, which he likely would have been within his authority to do. But once the other officers stepped in, the sheriff regained his composure. It is relatively clear that the sheriff was within his authority to remove Miss Rummel from the meeting and to prevent her from re-entering without permission. The First Amendment was never implicated by Miss Rummel's exclusion from the meeting, and Sheriff Murphy was under no legal obligation to allow her to enter. It is difficult to say whether Sheriff Murphy understood the constitutional implications at play during this encounter, but his conduct was legal nonetheless, and this interaction was ultimately resolved peacefully. Miss Rummel gets a C- for failing to do her due diligence before causing a scene about being excluded from the meeting, displaying a fundamental misunderstanding of the First Amendment, and for maintaining a rude and confrontational attitude throughout the interaction. From Miss Rummel's perspective, it likely felt as though she was being intentionally left out of the GOP meeting, and that is almost certainly the case. However, private entities have the right to meet in private for almost any reason, and it would be contrary to our current interpretations of the Constitution to suggest that citizens are entitled to attend private meetings held by private entities. Considering that Miss Rummel went to the meeting with the intention to film, her failure to research the applicable laws and jurisprudence was the catalyst for this encounter's escalation. And this interaction highlights the importance of understanding the fine details of the law before exercising your rights. Miss Rummel's decision to hurl deep-cutting insults at Sheriff Murphy was likely influenced by their colored history that the two share. And although I personally do not endorse Miss Rummel's choice of words, she was well within her rights to make those statements. It is worth bearing in mind how your actions will be perceived by a jury of peers in the event that you are a victim of police misconduct. And being rude and hostile will rarely ever work in your favor in court. While I do appreciate Miss Rummel's passion for civilian rights and government transparency, I also believe that she would benefit from a tamer approach. Let us know if there's an interaction or legal topic you would like us to discuss in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out my second channel for even more police interaction content.